bring enough data just to open up discussion. And the last 5 minutes, as a good consultant and advisor, I'll give you some conclusions and recommendations that my last 5 years in the industry working with operators, manufacturers, and some of the regulators and associations have given me. So I hope you enjoy the presentation. Let's start with a little bit of background on the very light jet and air taxi industry. This industry is not new. It's had 2 starts already. And the starts date back to 1950 and 1960, even before I was born, which dates me. There was an initial start. The engines were not efficient enough, but some of you have heard about the SIPA jets and the Paris jets. So there was a start there. And then there was a second start in the mid-70s with the Fox jet. That didn't work because the engines that the Fox jets used were used for military cruise missiles, so the government killed that try. But this is the 3rd attempt, and this one is real. Aircraft have been delivered, business models have been implemented, we have people actually putting the tire, the rubber to the ground, and the industry is moving forward. 3 quotes that give us perspective on the industry today. Let's start with this one. 2001, there was an announcement made by a company from here, from Miami, called Nimbus Group, and they ordered 1,000 Eclipse jets. How many of you remember about Nimbus jet, and how many of you recall this event? Not too many, but this really happened. This propelled Eclipse into one of the first major rounds of financing. However, didn't happen. The next quote dates back a little bit more recent, 2005. Oliver Macefield was then Senior Vice President of Engineer of Eclipse, and he said, we're going to produce 1,000+ aircraft per year, but that has significant challenges. We're in 2008, and we've all seen the challenges, and we'll talk a little bit about that in the presentation. And last but not least, we are looking at David Windham, who is one of the most respected consultants and forecasters, crystal ball type of leaders in the industry, who says 50 to 800 aircraft VLJs per year is quite a spread. There are some risks and there are some promises. So that gives us a little bit the context where we are today. Let's take a quick look. The overall market for VLJ, I'm not going to use my own crystal ball. I'm going to rely on all these sources, and I'm going to choose somewhere which is on the high side to keep the optimistic conversation, but not the highest. So PMI Media has said that 7,600 roughly VLJs will be delivered in the next 10 years, about 700 per year. So of those 7,600 units per year, roughly 60% coming to the air taxi and commercial operators. Whether it is for seating, schedules, fractional, traditional shower, 60% of them are delivered, and there are 40% significant amount with a range of 50-50. But it's a very significant amount, and that will take Let's take a quick look. As of today, 2007 ended. There's been a lot of speculation of how many planes would be delivered, how many certifications would be in place, how quick would the government be in implementing the new technologies. But the reality is that roughly 140 planes have been delivered, 100 Eclipses roughly and 40 Cessna Mustangs. The forecast was conservative, 175, so we're about 22% below forecast. Not too bad. Not a bad start. But let's take a look now at This comes from the Government Acquisitions Office in the US. Let's take a quick look at about the next 10-year forecast. All the players who are going to certify aircraft, these are the most credible. There are other projects which are left from this analysis, but this will suffice for us. From 2007 to 2017, we have 7,600 units, 4,500 for commercial use, which is 450 a year, and the rest for other uses. Is this feasible? Roughly 800 planes per year, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 manufacturers. Yeah, this is nothing new. This is since September 11, the production rates and the business aircraft use and production have met these criteria. So this is fine, except that we have the forecast for Eclipse. As you can see, it's 300, 400, 300. See the 3, 400s, 500s. It's not quite the 1,000 plus. And I'm not picking on Eclipse. I'm an admirer of Eclipse. I've worked with people who have worked for Eclipse, and I think Eclipse has been the true enabler of this sector. However, we have to look at these figures because, I'm going to say it once more, the bankers and the venture capitalists and the investors are watching. And let's take a look now at the opportunities and risks and the growth of the market based on these insights. Growth of the market. Absolutely. Business models, I talked to a few of you here, orders, planes flying, business models proving successful, investors coming in, lending money, etc. That's working. Aircraft operating, support, training, fuel costs. Somebody from simulation, from CAE was here, training, insurance companies. That's working pretty well. The models will be sustainable and they will grow. I have no doubts about that. Now this is an interesting keyword, entry into service, EIS. I'm pretty sure you are all familiar with it. It's not about deliveries, but it's also about actual performance of the delivery. A plane that comes out doesn't do the job, or does the job halfway through, what comes back is recalled or grounded, is no good. There is a cycle peak coming up, 2009, 2010, inevitable industry. Geopolitically, you see there is recession looming, and if you look at the cycles, we are approaching the peak of a cycle. But there is also a very interesting development in the Middle East, Africa, and Asia. Those markets alone could gobble up any hiccups in the European, US traditional markets. Which leaves us with opportunities and risks. The opportunities that we are looking at is like somebody was describing the other day, the pyramid of users. About 2 billion people use the airlines, about 5% of that use private aviation. If you take a little bit of that, 2 billion is a lot. So we are talking about maybe going from hundreds to thousands to hundreds of thousands or even millions of users. So the opportunities are great. On-demand per seat has been tried in Europe, and on-demand schedule is tried in Europe, on-demand per seat is tried here. IT is alive and kicking. We have some of the best IT companies in this conference. So that's, the support industry is working pretty well. Now, what are the risks? And one of the insights that I'd like to share with you today is in my workings with the industry in these last 5 years, we've been developing 3 major centers of gravity in this industry, which are good because the investors have paid a lot of attention to projects in the billions of dollars. But it also pose some risks because the investors will watch carefully, like what happened in the .com after 2 or 3 high-profile failures. They all ran away. Not all of them. Some of them stayed. And then we have eBay, we have Google. So the .com is still here, except that it cooled off a little bit. So we have 3 centers of gravity in our sector to look at, which could be very important for the investment community to keep playing with us. The first one is the US market, and this is a constant in any aerospace project. 75% of all these air taxi VLJ industries coming here. So any hiccups could be to our advantage. Unfortunately, September 11 was a terrible hiccup that worked for the advantage of private aviation, but it could be the other way around. So when there is a sneeze here, other people catch the flu. So keep an eye on that. And the other 2 centers of gravity are here with us today.